I got into art and design through stickers and graffiti shit, and I'd always covet them, and I would always like keep them filed away, and like I would trade with people here and there. I'd put them up here and there, but I loved just having and staring at this sticker was so exciting to me, and so being able to now make stickers and give them out to people is nice. My name's Thor Kimmell. I'm from Philadelphia. And, I moved to New York like 10 years ago. I'm a designer, I'm an illustrator, collector, obsessive, all those things. I wanted to move to New York because my dad had lived here. In the 80s, he lived in the Chelsea Hotel, rode a motorcycle. Like, I would always hear stories about New York when I was younger. So I knew I wanted to live there one day. And then I moved to Brooklyn for school. I went to Pratt and I studied printmaking there. And then I've stayed ever since. I think having unlimited access to like the facilities was huge. Being able to screen print whatever I wanted or use like the light tables for drawing or all those studios was really great. Like instead of when I was younger and just like doodling in class all the time. Like now it was just doodling all the time. And so that really let me just go wild and like open myself up to just, all right, what is it like to I'm just gonna draw all day today. And I would do that for like 8 hours. I'm just gonna draw all day. Yeah, it was cool to see like how do you take things to the next level? Like how do you go from just how can you expand on a drawing on paper into something more? Whether that's creating a whole sculpture out of it or amassing and framing drawings in a certain way or just thinking larger, which is sometimes hard to do when you're just, at your desk or in your studio. Thinking beyond that can be difficult. When I was living in Philly, I was such a blog nerd, and I would just be on different sites every day, like trying to find what's happening in different parts of the world, what's the music like, what are people wearing, what stores are out there. Like The Good Company and the Madbury Club was huge for me. There's, agencies are doing really cool stuff, lots of different agencies, but a group of friends who were designers, photographers, and other creatives, fabricators that did really cool, I guess they were an ad agency at the end of the day or a design agency, but they did really cool stuff. It was cool to see a younger group of people kind of breaking a lot of rules and doing whatever they wanted and having success with larger brands. And so Good Company was a place that like the first time I saw Stray Rats in hand after like just being aware of it online or other brands from Japan. And they had a lot of really good zines as well. So that was a really big influence on me. And like graphically, this gallery, Jonathan Levine, that's not open anymore, but that was like my favorite gallery. They showed a lot of lowbrow and like West Coast artists, graffiti artists, like tattoo artists. So it was a really eclectic mix of people, and going to those shows was always really cool. And then Tara McPherson had a gallery called the Cotton Candy Machine, and I would go to a lot of shows there as well too. And so just seeing all these different artists and all these different styles was really impactful on me. Yeah, getting to meet some of the artists and seeing just like that world was really influential on me for sure. And then toys a lot. You can see around my apartment, there's like tons of toys everywhere. That was a huge thing. I've always, every kid likes toys, but I've always been a fan of weird toys. As I got older, they were more like still life models to me, and like the certain poses that you could capture inside a sculpture were really fun to draw. It's fun to find like weirder and weirder shit, colors, textures, all that. There's a mix of ones that are important to me in different ways, whether how I found them or, what they represent. So like, yeah, this one's super cool. I got this as a gift from Corey from a Potluck Club gave this to me, which was super sick. This is Mara from Tokyo Tribe, which is a super sick manga. This guy I love, this weird G.I. Joe. I put monster hands on him, but one thing I love about him is that he has a rat tail, and so do I. And I don't know why, rat tail and an earring. I don't know why they would make this toy, but just like anything that's really weird. My girlfriend and I were recently in San Francisco. We picked up some older Sofubi stuff. The colors on this are so cool, and the way it's painted, I'm really into. Maddie has these little cupies that she drew on. She did a Insane Clown Posse one for this guy. It's fun to kind of, whenever we get a new toy or a couple new toys, that's kind of an excuse to rearrange things and see how they fit. Now that we have so many, we have to be a little more picky, so it's fun to like find the right one that gets to fit in with everybody else. So this is a more recent like soft vinyl Sofubi toy. My friend Steve made this one. Crazy details, and we traded. He did might have been 5 Points Fest, and I drew his figure, and they printed it out to be like life size, like 6.5 feet, like huge. And so at the event there was this giant monster there, and got one of the toys in the trade. Thank you, Steve. It's always more exciting to barter with somebody, you know, especially another designer or artist. You know, Barry McGee is one of my favorites. I have the orange poster in the living room is by him. The skateboards behind you are by him. And then I got to, you know, meet him the other month. Got a sticker off of him. Twist One. Same with all the beautiful losers, and Espo and Margaret and Thomas Campbell. All those people were really influential. Yeah, my friend Andrew Vickery is a really great designer. It's always cool to see he's working on. James Paris, another friend who's a great designer. I get so stoked on anyone making anything, no matter what it is. Music, art, bicycles, anything. Like, I get super stoked seeing that. And sometimes I forget that I also make stuff too. And so it's nice when, you know, when people want to trade, because I value their stuff and they value mine. And yeah, sometimes it's more fun than being able to just buy it. It's like there's a deeper story to it, which I appreciate. I think I'm very lucky. You know, I have a group chat that's just devoted to my friends who make music or art or design. And so everything in there is people sending work in progress, songs in progress, getting feedback. And so even, you know, I'll send things in there like, hey, this is a flyer I'm working on. What do you think of the colors? And it's nice to have that space and that same group of people. You know, you see each other's styles develop over time. You give each other input over time. And yeah, that's definitely been one way to be like a direct impact. And I think the more success I've had and the larger opportunities I've gotten to make work on bigger scales, I've taken that knowledge and I can then, you know, kind of give advice from a deeper perspective, I guess, on certain things. So like, you know, being able to see, oh, you can take that idea and here's how you can scale it bigger, or you can hit up this person and that person and come together and make something larger, or just say like that yellow and red doesn't work, things like that. And they do the same for me, which I'm very thankful for. But that's been, yeah, I think that's been the big one. Just being able to have fun with that has been nice. When work or projects come from a place of fun or stupidity or goofiness, that's where I'm really making my best work. I find if it's somewhere less serious, I can just kind of go nuts on it. I know people are doing it all the time, but I'm excited when I see people getting real weird with it. Doing type in a funky way, doing really cool color combinations, like little things like that. I think that is more valuable than a lot of people realize. And, you know, going for something a little bit unexpected. You know, I'm not breaking new ground every time I work on a design. There was a time where that's where I was trying. That was the mindset I was having every time. I was like, okay, this is another chance to do like the best, craziest shit. And that gets, you know, overwhelming after a while when you get tired. And it's also like, okay, not everything, I don't need to reinvent the wheel every time, but I can like chisel the wheel a little bit here and there, and I can reshape it here and there. And so often when I'm doing work, whether it's logo stuff or type stuff or even illustration, luckily after years of doing it every day all the time, I now have a better way to work in which it gets to the place I want it to be. Sometimes things take longer, and I'm still learning patience. Sometimes you need to walk away for a bit after you do all the groundwork, and then you need to come back later and be like, okay, now the composition needs this, versus just like, if I grit my teeth harder, if I tense my body tighter, I'll be able to figure it all out in one go. So normally, when I'm drawing something, I like to look back at what I've been sketching. So that's just a great, sometimes you draw a blank. It's Eddie Merckx, one of the best cyclists of all time. Just trying to draw him in different ways one day. I'm not the best at drawing from life, but sometimes you still gotta practice. Because it's still really fun and it's useful. Because sometimes you sit down to draw and nothing happens. Other times you sit down to draw and it flows like water. For some reason I did a whole page about I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry with Adam Sandler and Kevin James. I don't know why. Jumped out of my head that day. So many years I was thinking about drawing or thinking about making things in terms of printmaking or silk screening stuff, and so the layers involved in that kind of stuck with me, that kind of thing. And something like this, it's really fun to just be able to block out big shapes. You know, you're thinking in bigger strokes. I love how much variety is in this one. You get a fat line, or you can get a thin line like that. Kind of a general idea of how it's gonna look. It's kind of like a Who's That Pokemon way of drawing something. You see the silhouette first, and you're like, oh, what could that be? I think drawing is often a means to an end, whether that's to get the idea out of your head. You know, if you can, sometimes I can picture a drawing before I've done it, or picture the general drawing I want to make. Sometimes it's to get a message across, you know, to express how you see the world in the more academic sense I always used to say. Sometimes it's just to get the dumbest joke possible across. But it's all valid. I think the tools also helps you get it out of your head. Like even my sketchbooks now, like I love like a dot grid. Gives me just enough, you know, so if I'm doing lettering, I know how to keep things even and balanced, but it's also pretty easy to ignore because it's just dots. I just loved, I would save the Sunday cartoons in a newspaper, the way they drew motion or confusion or anything like that. It was such a, you know, only had 3 panels or so for a Saturday comic, but I always loved, like, Calvin and Hobbes had some of the best faces, you know, of like eating something that tastes bad or getting electrocuted or stuff like that. It was always really good. I end up doing kind of like 2 under drawings often. When I'm drawing, I'll do one. It's the base shapes, and then I'll do one that's a little more refined. And then when that parameter is built out, I'll take the darkest pen I have, or if I'm using different colors, the darkest color. And then it kind of lets me get a little goofier with it. Just taking that one thing that means a lot to you and reinterpreting it or remaking it for a new audience. I always loved, you know, going to or leaving concerts or sporting events. You got the dudes in the parking lot who are like waving the t-shirts that have like, sometimes in a way the best, but like the worst photo screen print of said artist. And those are always more exciting to me. Taking more risks, or like doesn't have to be 100% accurate. You can have like a bad photo of someone you decided to make a t-shirt out of, or, you know, print their hair the wrong color or stuff like that, or, you know, make a special version for like if they're playing at a certain venue or certain city, you throw like the Statue of Liberty in there, something random. It always makes it way more fun for me and kind of clues into more of what was going on, why that shirt was made or when. I used to go by Loser Vandross, like Luther. I think I was still in high school, maybe. It was just like a dumb thinking of different ways to flip things or stupid monikers. And I thought of Loser Vandross, and I was like, you know what? I kind of like that. And then I kind of stuck with that for years. And then I still write it, you know. I've been writing those 5 letters for like years now. But at a certain point, I was like, you know what? Let me go by my own name. Let me just be myself, maybe be outside of the moniker and still use it for fun, but not be bound to it. You know, I always like designing in a bold way where if it's like a t-shirt, I want you to be able to see it from a block away. Yeah, so this is one we did in tandem with this Adidas Samba that we made. It's this Kiss graphic, double-sided. I wanted something that was bold and legible from further. The further away it is, doesn't look blurry. This is an older one I did for round 2 when I was there. During COVID, they were doing this like run club stuff in LA. A little beat up. But there's little beauties everywhere. Kind of looking all over the place. More recently, this past summer, streetwear labels get together and play soccer and businesses in the city. And yeah, I made this one based on an old Mexican World Cup jersey that I love. But, you know, threw the Statue of Liberty in there. And I even made this little patch. This is like a downtown apartment building on the crest. I feel like with a lot of my work I try and throw in a couple nods to other things, whether that's, you know, a reference to a song or an old cartoon character or this or that. And the goal for me is always like, if you don't get the reference, you still like what it is, you're still excited about it. And if you get the reference, that's an extra plus on top, and you're kind of clued into the meaning behind the design. Didn't like that line, so I'm just gonna cover the damn thing up. Another great thing about this marker, the opacity of it is really cool. Kind of cover things back up you didn't like, and go at it again.